My name is Victor Mark Onyegbu. I'm the grants manager at Africa No Filter, and I also oversee narrative community building and engagement activities. Feel free to drop the name of your city and your name like you're already doing in the chat box. Our speaker today probably needs no introduction to most of us, but for those who may not know her, I'll say a bit about her, but before I do that, I will speak a little bit about the context as to why we are here. I will say a bit about why we're here, and then you will hear from the speaker. Africa No Filter, as many of you may already know, is a donor collaborative working to shift stereotypical and harmful narratives within and about Africa. We do this through major pillars, which are research, grant making, advocacy, and community building. And one of the ways we implement this elaborate community building strategy is through what we call the Africa No Filter Academy. The ANF Academy is a series of capacity building sessions which we deliver through quarterly webinars, which are aimed at equipping storytellers, content creators, and creatives across media, arts, and culture in Africa with the relevant skills, both to enhance their storytelling capacities and also to sustain their creative enterprises. This is in line with our vision to live an empowered narrative change ecosystem and an informed community of storytellers who will continue working to shift harmful representations of the African continent. We have titled this, How to Monetize Your Digital Platforms. And we've got no less a mentor than the media tech giant who has succeeded in breaking many glass ceilings and scoring many firsts within the media sector, Uche Pedro. I will say a bit about her and then I will hand over to her. So I would encourage that the slides are being put together at this point, and so that once I'm done with the introduction of Uche Pedro, we can kickstart with the presentation. Uche Pedro has spent the last decade in digital entrepreneurship as the founder of BellaNaija, Africa's leading lifestyle and advocacy digital media company with a community of over 5 million Africans on the continent and in diaspora. BellaNaija is the home of digital super brands like BellaNaija Online, BellaNaija Style, and BellaNaija Weddings, which have influenced and transformed several creative industries in Africa by generating global awareness, leading to job creation and other positive impact points. Uche co-founded PV Citizen to encourage millennials and Generation Z Nigerians to register, vote, and become active citizens. PV Citizen's first impact campaign leading up to the 2019 elections in Nigeria achieved a reach of 200 million impressions across social media. In March 2020, Uche was honored by Forbes Africa as one of the 50 most powerful women in Africa. In 2021, she was announced as a Young Leader Laureate by the French African Foundation. The Young Leaders Program has brought together for the first time 100 people active in various sectors: political, economic, associative, cultural, and sports, and committed to thinking and formulating solutions, 100 answers common to France and Africa. Uche holds a bachelor's degree honors in business administration from the Ivy Business School at Western University in Canada, where she graduated with distinction. She recently completed the mid-career Master of Public Administration degree as a Mason Fellow at the Harvard Kennedy School, supported by a fellowship from the Ash Center for Democratic Governance and Innovation. At the Harvard Kennedy School, Uche was also a recipient of the Josephine Vernon Award. Uche is passionate about the progress of Africa's emerging generations and works to foster positive change through BellaNaija Do Good initiatives and partnerships with grassroots, local, and global impact organizations. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be handing over to Uche Pedro. That's the next voice you will hear. And we're also excited and gingered up to learn from your expertise, Uche. So you have the floor, Uche. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Victor. I'm so excited and honored to be here today. Hello, everybody. I'm really hoping that my internet complies with me today. I've put everything in place to ensure that this goes smoothly. I thank you, Africa No Filter. I'm actually an advisory board member at Africa No Filter, and I'm so proud of the impacts that the organization has had in just such a short period of time. Today, I'm joined by my colleagues, Julian Ojo, Ike Wosu, and Motunde Bironke. They are going to be answering some of your questions later on. So you have what I would like to call a squad to help you monetize your digital platforms today. So I'll dive right into the presentation now. So how to monetize your digital platforms. I know that today we have a variety of people here. I know some people here are entrepreneurs, some people here are podcasters, some people here are bloggers, some people here are YouTubers, and some people here are just thinking of, okay, do you know what? How can I dive into this space? So there's something for everyone today. And even for some of you who are already very savvy and you feel like, yes, I already know some of these things, but the question I'm going to pose to you today is, you know it, but how much have you implemented? How much have you done? So I'm going to challenge you today. So let's dive in. So the first question I'd like to ask is, how are you? You know, we live in a capitalist world, and oftentimes it's all about growth. Bigger is better, do more. But in the midst of it all, you are an individual, you are a person with emotions, with feelings. So I just want us to pause for a moment for you to say, do you know what, how are you today? Because as you set out on the journey to grow your business, your brand, your revenue, your net worth, it is important for you to do the inner work. How's your wellness? How's your confidence? How's your state of mind? What's your mindset? Because the truth is that even if you do everything externally and the internal is not in a good place, it will still be a struggle. So that will be my first challenge to you. So first of all, I want to pause and say, how are you? You can leave a reply in the chat box. I know a lot is happening in the world, and I want you to just escape from that for an hour to do something for yourself, which is listen to this webinar, learn so you can grow. So the good news is that there is an abundance of opportunities on our continent. While some of the international media may be attracted to very gloomy stories, one of the key parts of the work that Africa No Filter does is to show you that, yes, there is an abundance of opportunities here. There are over 500 million internet users on the continent. We have platforms, mainly international platforms such as YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Substack, Canva, that provide you with platforms to grow your media empire, as well as, of course, your own owned platforms that you come up with. So there is an abundance of opportunities, and I want that mindset to be the one that you have today. There are opportunities out there. We want you to tap into those opportunities. So what to explore? So today we're talking about monetization. And as we said, there's a variety of types of people on this webinar. So let's look at, so what I wanted to start with was the lowest hanging fruit. So I wanted to say, do you know what? Let's go from the easy to the complex. So for example, if you are already on Twitter, Twitter actually just recently launched something which is called Twitter Super Follows. And this is a program that allows you to monetize your influence on the platform. So this is something worth you exploring. If you're into newsletters, Substack has paid newsletter options, which is very potentially lucrative. And a lot of diverse creators have been able to grow there. Of course, we know YouTube Creators Program, which they have quite an active presence on the continent. Canva creators as well. So for some of you who are graphic designers and who have a flair for design, this is an opportunity for you to grow your monetization through Canva, which of course is one of the biggest design platforms in the world. TikTok is growing, especially amongst our dear Gen Z, even on the continent. They have the Creators Fund, which they've targeted at several key markets around the world. Based on the research, they've not launched this in Africa yet, but guess what? It is all about building for the future. So even if something has not been launched yet, what are you doing on these key platforms, especially knowing that by the time they to launch it in your space, are you ready to leap on that opportunity? Instagram content monetization is also something that is growing. So just to consolidate on that, platform programs are one of the easiest ways for you to monetize. Where are the platforms where you are currently already creating content, developing media, and looking into the existing programs that exist in that space? Even if it does not exist for your market yet, guess what? You want to be prime and ready for that opportunity. So let's go into the next, which is expand media offerings. So supposing you already have a newsletter, your newsletter is doing quite well. Have you considered expanding that newsletter to add a podcast, for example? Supposing you're doing very well on Instagram, definitely you can repurpose your content for TikTok and vice versa, or for YouTube Shorts, for example. So let's say you're doing very well on one platform. Another way of increasing your monetization potential is expanding to other platforms, whether it's going from podcasts, adding video content, or it's going from having a website to having an ebook. That is a quick win way for you to explore. And of course, let's go to amplification of your brand. Many of you are really building solid brands out there, and well done. I can congratulate you on the progress because I know it's not easy. However, inflection and reflection is always a good idea. Take a critical look at your brand and say, do you know what can I do to make this brand more viable? Update the brand, look at how you can improve your graphics, the positioning of the brand, and look at options to help you spot gaps and quick wins for your brand. Other things to explore, of course, seeking brand collaborations with all the global and Pan-African and even local brands that you love. And that takes a certain amount of intentionality. This is something that you probably already know, but the question is, back to my previous question, how much are you doing, even though you know it? So this is my challenge spot to you to say, hey, what are some of your favorite brands that you see an opportunity to collaborate with? Have you spoken to them? Have you pitched to them? Have you reached out to them? When last did you go and check out what they have planned for the year and how your brand may fit into their plans, or even vice versa, how they could fit into your plans as well? Another one for you to consider is consultancy to get paid for your expertise. Right now, digital is hot, hot, hot. And what? They are looking for people who have that real organic expertise in the area. This could be a good one for you to explore once again with brands, with various companies of various sizes and shapes. Oftentimes when we think of brands, we're thinking of all the global brands. Well, they're good. What about the local brands? What about some of the local enterprises around you? Where are some of the points where you 10 million people for you to feel like this is a relevant community? As long as you have a community that is supporting you, engaged, that is all. You can think about paid subscriptions, you can think about paid referrals, you can just explore some of these options for your community. But as you do all this, as I said in the beginning, you have to ensure that there's alignment as well. So I'm going a bit more advanced now. So we've gone through the quick wins, and now we're going to some of the things that may be a bit of a reach. So we're such as merch. Do you have merch for your brand? Even BellaNaija, how much merch do we have and what can we do? You're looking at digital products. What digital products can you potentially produce that can be scaled across the internet? And other innovative products. Your creativity, I know there's so many creative people on this call. Your creativity can really, really take you a long way with this. Then we cross over to education and publishing. All those courses, once again, you do not need a community of millions to start sharing the knowledge that you have. If you have some specialized knowledge, whether it is, how to build a podcast, whether it is how to, do some DIY, anything that you have that is of value you can create into a paid course or an ebook. One of my favorite creators is Sisi Yemi. She's a Nigerian YouTuber. She has a series of cookbooks now and other very engaging material that she has expanded into. And guess what? We are in the era of the personal brand. So guess what? You can also monetize your personal brand. Yes, you. So some of those speaking engagements, you create an ad card for your speaking engagements and you're like, look, this is the value I can bring to the table. This is how much I'm going to charge. Please, this does not mean that each time anybody calls you for a speaking engagement, you're like, no pay, I'm not coming. No, you will be able to discern which of these opportunities is one that is a paid opportunity, which one is an opportunity for exposure, or what level you are at. Endorsement. So one thing about brands right now is that brands are looking outside the status quo for who to sort of endorse their brand. So it could be you. So even though you may feel like, oh, I'm not a celebrity, but guess what? They may be looking for you. And of course, published books. So based on your personal brand, your personality, that is another option for you. So please share your feedback in the chat box, even though I can't really see it now, but I'll be able to read it later. So now let's talk about the next frontier. I'm sure a lot of you have been hearing about NFTs and the metaverse, and you're like, okay, what is this? And while some of you on here are like, look, why are you asking me? I already know everything about NFTs, the metaverse, and Web3. Fantastic. It is very important that, look, we are Africans, we are on this wonderful continent, and oftentimes the world views us in a certain way, but we know that that's not true. We know that in so many technologies, Africa has been able to leapfrog from point A to point Z really fast. And this is an opportunity that exists here. So if you are not exploring these spaces already, once again, I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to say, hey, today, dig deep, find out about Web3, find out about the metaverse, find out about NFTs, and see what place you can play in these spaces. These spaces are still in development. They are imperfect. So I wouldn't say that you should rush into it without having a clear understanding of what it's about, but that knowledge is certainly going to be useful. And remember, there's always an advantage with being an early adapter or an early mover in a space. So just imagine in your country, you could potentially become a domain expert on some of these very critical areas. So I know that in Nigeria, we have something called meat pie. Everybody loves this. And in some other countries, we have pies of various types. So I decided to bring you some pie today, but a different kind of pie. So these are some guides for you. So partner, oftentimes we can be very individualistic about a lot of things, but there is really value in partnering. And once again, I would say partnering is not just for, hey, I'm going to partner with a big brand. No, sometimes partnering is partnering with your peers, partnering with other creatives, partnering with larger brands, yes, and considering a partner for your venture. Some of you are really good business people. Some of you are really good creatives. There's a lot of magic when these two sides come together. For example, in the music industry, if you look at Davido, you look at his business manager, Asa. That is music coming together with business. If you look at Burna Boy, look at his mom handling the business side. And you can transfer that example to so many enterprises across the continent and across the world. Innovate. Of course, you need to innovate. One thing I have mentioned earlier, I talked about all the global platforms that we know, but guess what? We need more global platforms coming out of Africa. And this is something that I'm really excited about seeing in the next 2 to 5 years. We will need our African platforms straight from here. Thankfully, there's a lot of interest in our continents now. Funding is coming in. So you may have that idea that scales to be the next global media sensation. So I am going to encourage you to not get stuck in a corner, but instead break free and know that your idea is very valid. The third thing in my pie is to experiment. You just have to try it. So I know that some people here may have analysis paralysis. Oh, I want to do this. So I talk to a lot of people, they're like, I want to do this. I have this idea. I have that idea. How many of them have you tried? You have to experiment. And especially as your business is just growing, even the biggest companies in the world, they try and they fail. There's really nothing wrong in trying, and sometimes you fail, but they try, they fail, they pick up, they try again. So I'm going to challenge you once again to experiment. So you experiment and you say, you know what, I'm going to try this out. And then standardize for scale. One of the biggest things I helped BellaNaija with our monetization was standardizing. So saying, hey, these are some standard products that we sell, and we're able to sell them every single day. So we're not stuck creating products every single day, because that can really limit your potential for scale. Okay. So we're rounding up the presentation now. It's been interesting. I know that you're enjoying it, hopefully. And now this is a guide. One thing I want to say is that alignment and authenticity is very important. It's not about any and every. So I've mentioned so many things today. I do not expect you to do all. It is not sustainable for you to do all. You will be exhausted doing all. But what you want to say is which is aligned with my plans, which is aligned with my company, which is aligned with my personality, which is aligned with my strategic plans. And of course, authenticity is important. But I'm going to put a caveat here, because authenticity can be a trap as well. So you have to make sure that you're not using authenticity as a self-limiting belief. Okay, authenticity is so important, alignment is so important, but you should not use that to shove yourself in a box either. Quality. You can't go wrong with great quality. Nobody ever said, oh, this quality is just too good. I don't like that. Quality is so important, and I'm going to challenge you to maintain and even elevate your quality always. We oftentimes want to rush into opportunity saying, hey, I want this opportunity, I want that opportunity. But when you're given the opportunity, how do you do? Do you deliver? Or it's a case of deadlines, you're missing deadlines, you're running around, you're delivering a substandard product? No. You have to ensure that your quality is on point and you are reliable and you deliver each time you're giving a mandate or a task. Consistency, that is the secret sauce. You can start today, you can start doing everything, TikTok, Instagram, every single thing in one day. You can try doing it. But if you are not consistent, that is the secret sauce. And that consistency sometimes takes years. That's the truth. Sometimes it's going to take a couple of years of trying, experimenting, pushing before you get that big break. And going back to the beginning. So I'm going to end where I started, mindset. A lot of people on this call, I know that you're facing your fair share of anxiety, of fear, and these are natural emotions, which hopefully, I hope you're working your way through. But what I would say is work your way through it, work on your mental health, but don't let these emotions control you. Don't let them limit you. You have to just push forward. So I hope to see you succeed. See this graph, it goes back to what I said in terms of consistency. You could have that slow and steady growth before you have that big break that just takes you to the very, very next level. But I hope to see all of you on that very next level. And thank you so much for your time today. I've done this presentation with love, with light. And you can visit us and check us out on BellaNaija.com, BellaNaija.style.com, and BellaNaija Weddings. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Let me put my video on. All right. Thank you so much. That was so insightful, Uche. I can see the comment section has been buzzing with lots and lots of comments. I see wonderful comments. I see comments about creating a WhatsApp group or some sort of network for these kinds of conversations to continue. And so I believe that's a feedback for us at Africa No Filter. And so I'd just like to encourage every one of you to go to the chat, sorry, not the chat, the Q&A section, to put in your questions, and we'll take questions from the Q&A section. But I would like to be a bit selfish by starting with a few posers. I mean, I listened so intently, Uche, and you made mention of the pie, the partnership, the P for the partnership in the pie. And okay, before I start with the question, please do take the polls. The polls are out. There are a couple of questions we want you to answer. And if you can, please provide answers to those questions. The polls are on the screen. That would be very helpful. And so, Uche, you talked about PI, which is partnership is the P, right? And a lot of creatives rely more on trust, especially at these early stages, than contractual agreements and all that. So what sort of advice do you have for those who are at the very early stages of their careers and how they rely so much on trust as against contractual, agreements?
Well, thank you, Victor. That is a very important question. Interestingly, I had that thought yesterday. The truth is that when you see a lot of creatives down the line, I'm sure you've seen some of those Twitter fights between creatives and people who did work with them in early days. It could be one person feels they were shortchanged or one person feels they were cheated, and vice versa. The truth about it is that definitely some sort of contractual agreement on paper, and it does not need to be complex. Sometimes just a record is enough at that early stage. I would say that it's also very important that you don't sign agreements you don't understand. So even when I was talking about Web3, one of my principles is that understand, and keep it simple. Things do not have to be complicated to be great. So going back to your question, I would say that however you can record the terms of an agreement, it's very critical. Even if at this stage you may not be able to afford full legal representation, but there should be some sort of record of the agreement that can be referenced. That's the first one. The second one is never sign any legal agreement you don't fully understand. Have somebody review it and make sure you understand it, even if somebody else reviews it, just so later on when you blow and you're super successful, you're not filled with regrets about it. And also even for your partners don't feel shortchanged or cheated.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Uche. I've got one more question before I pick a couple of other questions, and that is around your background. You started out in a corporate environment. You've worked in huge establishments, and before you set up BellaNaija. And my question to you would be, how would you say that experience was? How useful was that initial corporate environment experience to the kind of successes that you have achieved with BellaNaija? Was there any connection whatsoever?
I would say that the key thing that brought to me was the need for structure. So one of the things that I referenced in my presentation as one of the pies is to standardize for scale. So oftentimes at the early stage, it's easy to just want to be starting from scratch every day. But just imagine if you have standardized certain parts of your process and how much you'll be able to grow that. So I'll say that's one of the biggest lessons from there. Another thing I'll say is professionalism. Of course, I've made mistakes and you may make mistakes at some point, but every time you're given an opportunity, you want to do it 150%. And that's one thing I can vouch for our BellaNaija team. When we're given an opportunity, the feedback we get most of the time when we do any special project is, wow, this is above what we're expecting. And that's a good thing, as opposed to, this below expectations, etc. But at the same time, it's a journey. So I can see some people here on the chat saying they are tired, they are worried about a lot of things. It's a journey and you're going to make some mistakes sometimes. But the truth is, if you can learn from those mistakes and build up and keep getting better, you're on the right track.
I think this is really important, Uche. That time to experiment is what most creatives have been looking for. And I think that's a very huge missing gap, because when you look at the big manufacturing institutions, there's always a huge budget around R&D, research and development. And what does research and development mean in our own sector? It's really about experimentation, fail and learn from those failures. And so that's what most creatives have not been afforded an opportunity to do. And we hope we can continue to see more and more of those kinds of opportunities for people to fail and learn and then perfect in their practice. So I'll take a few more questions, Uche. There's a question here from Maija, and the question is, what really gets a brand's attention to want to collaborate with artists? So what are those things that brands get attracted to?
Okay, so for this question, I would love Motunde to answer. Motunde is a business development ninja and star. And so over to you, Motunde.
Thank you, Uche, and thank you, Victor, for this opportunity to share. So when I was going through the question section, it was one of the questions I actually could tell. And just like Uche said, it's because I kind of can relate in that space. So firstly, for the person who asked this question, let me just put out there that this doesn't only relate to artists. It applies to every sphere of life. You know, for every business, every brand, there's that stage where you have to monetize. And based on what monetization really is, it's just how you're able to, you know, receive to give value. That is what it is. So the steps here is, no matter how small you are, no matter how medium or large scale you are in your business, you need to understand that brands will come, but not everybody is going to want to, you know, have something to do with you. But at the end of the day, just stay true to yourself. Ensure that every step that you take, every setting you put in place prior to this conversation with the brand is authentic, just like Uche said, is convincing enough. I know you want to make money, but also understand the fact that you need to let this brand, this client be comfortable with your brand first before you now start to convince them. And when you convince them, put your facts right. Don't just talk. Ensure that you have things to back up whatever is being said, you know, and just do your best. Whether they come or they do not come back again, whether they go ahead with your plan or they decide to say, you know what, not this time around, don't feel discouraged. I believe in one thing when it comes to monetization. There are two steps. There's the hello stage and there's the buy stage. But what is more important for us at BellaNaija and for me as a person is the next hello stage. So even when I say hello and I tell you buy, whether you partake in what I'm doing, you buy my product, you engage in my services, I would still come back again to say hello. So you have to ensure that the relationship that you have with your client at the buy stage is one that allows you access to say hello again, or allows the client to say, you know what, I couldn't do it the last time, but this time around I will come back because I love what I saw, I love what I heard, I was convinced, but it just wasn't the right time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Motunde. Very soon I'll go to the results of the polls. But before that, maybe we could take one or two other questions and then I'll talk about what the audience have fed back to us. As a starter, surely things are still in the beginning, but as a non-profit founder without funding, how do I get partnerships that can offer website design? Well, maybe that's really specific, but I think it's speaking broadly to how non-profits can get partnerships. Then there's another question around what practices and what experiences work well for creatives. So maybe we can just knock off those two questions very quickly, and then we'll talk about the polls.
Okay, great. Thank you. So IK, I'll hand that over to you. Did you get the two questions?
How can nonprofits get partnerships?
Okay, great. And IK also does a lot of work in our social impact space, as well as being the lead for our content creation. So over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Uche. For website design, it's pretty easy. A lot of this platform, WordPress, Blogger, they have templates that you can buy for as low as tens of dollars. And, you know, you can easily just set up your website in the particular way you want it to be, and then you have that website design. But speaking broadly in partnerships, really, it starts with storytelling. Like which I said in the beginning of this conversation, you have to look at the low-hanging fruits, right? You have social media, you have Instagram, you have Twitter. You literally need €0 or $0 to get on this platform and tell your stories, right? For example, an example would be, there's a guy called Tunde Onakaya. He runs Chess in Slums Africa. And he started this work, I think like 4 years ago or thereabouts. And he started gaining traction from a year or two ago. And how did that happen? He just started putting out the work there with storytelling, you know, telling the background story of some of these kids, putting it out there, and then people begin to see, right? So the first step is to catch these low-hanging fruits, put your work out there, let people have something to see, and then you can do cold calls. You can reach out to literally anybody via LinkedIn, via their emails or wherever, and say, okay, this is what we are doing. this is how you can benefit your brand, and take a look at this and let me know if it's something you'll be interested in. And it goes back to what Motunde has said. Not everybody will agree. It won't be the right thing for some of those people at that particular time, but you have made that reach. You have done your own work. You have fans and supporters across your social media platforms. People can go back and see, okay, this is what you've done, this is what you've done. And then when you send out these emails, when you reach out to these people, you just might get somebody that wants to partner with you. So that's that for partnerships. I think what are some of the grounding practices that work well for creatives? Which I said something about consistency. And every time this comes up, people are like, I can be tired. But the truth is, what I always tell people, you have to create content that you like. Right? For example, on our platforms, I get tired every day, you guys. But because I enjoy this content, I enjoy creating some of this content. And, I enjoy the fact that our audience enjoys this content and they react to it. It just gives me joy. It keeps me going, right? So you have to create content that you like. Secondly is you have to maintain a culture of excellence, really. You don't just put out work because, okay, I have to release a podcast today. No, what are you saying? It has to be something that, if you are reading it from somebody else, you'll be like, okay, this is very good. This is very good. So I like to tell even people on our team, anybody that cares to listen, that you have to create that excellent content. It has to be put in your 100% and still check again if you are missing 1%, right? So you have to have that culture of excellence that keeps you going. But more importantly, create content you like. And then you can gather your community of people that, people, they typically say your tribe, people that like the same thing as you like. And then you can gather these people together and then you guys can, just form this community where you are growing together. Right? So those are like two major things that I can say. Uche has said quite a lot on this. So yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you so much, IK. Just so you know, we put out the poll questions to get to know the audience better. And the question about what type of content creator you are, most of those in the room right now are bloggers. 47, close to 50% of them are bloggers. Then we've got vloggers and we've got podcasters, and we've also got influencers. And there's a question around what is your skill level as a creator? And most of them, 44%, have recently launched a platform. So I'm going to go back to some platform questions. And I guess this is why we're having lots of questions about platforms. Then there's a question around what do you hope to gain from this session? And a lot of people want to understand how to market their brands and platform. Some others want to know, what the skills they will require to professionalize their platforms. And others are looking out for tips and tools for successful content creation. So there's a whole lot around platforms and content. And so this takes me back to the Q&A section. And I can see there's a question around platform that goes, with all of the platforms options available, as well as the different content types, is there a particular platform you would recommend for nonprofits? And which content is usually effective based on your experience? Let me take this with the second one, which is somebody who has a platform that has been staggering, not performing optimally since 2019. And they're asking which strategy is good to make the brand grow and get international. So maybe we can just touch those two questions very, very briefly. So we'll move on to the next set of questions.
Okay, great. So I'll answer the first part of the question, and Julian answered the second part. And I feel like the first part, also the second part ties in with what IK covered as well. Okay, what platform? Truly, it is your choice, because guess what? You are going to have to live on that platform. We live in a world of algorithms, and right now the algorithm rewards consistency. So if you look at a platform like TikTok, if you really want to make it on TikTok, You have to be posting on TikTok super consistently. And what's happened is that many of these platforms have different audiences. So one of the questions you want to ask yourself is, who are you trying to reach? So for example, if you're trying to reach the corporate audience, you know that you're going to go on LinkedIn, you're going to meet a global corporate audience on LinkedIn. If you want to meet the Gen Zs, and if you want to have a high chance of virality, because even without a huge TikTok following, you can get a video with hundreds of thousands of views on TikTok because of the way they are built. So if you want to reach the Gen Zs, you want to have a more youthful targeted brand, you know, you're going to TikTok. So part one is, what is your audience that you're trying to reach? Part two is, what type of content are you interested in creating? So for example, if you want to be writing, you're a very, very good writer, maybe TikTok is not the place for you. Maybe it's more of LinkedIn, maybe it's one more of Twitter, you're writing your threads, you're doing all that. Supposing it's photography and you love photos, maybe it's Instagram for you. So I've said two things. So one is, what's the audience you're trying to target? Two is, what type of content can you create very consistently? Because to be able to create a splash, you're going to have to create a lot of content consistently on these platforms. So I'll say that once you're able to think through those two things, that will enable you to make your platform choice as well. So the second part of the question, over to you, Julian, who is an all-round superstar. She's our COO and she has experience across various areas of digital monetization.
Thank you for that, Uche. Hi, Victor. Can you take the question again, please?
Okay, the question is, we've got a platform that has not been performing well since 2019. What strategy is good? What strategy is good to make the brand grow and get international? It seems Julian is frozen. Perhaps her connection.
Now.
So Julian, I don't know if you heard me, but the question is more around strategies to make brands grow and get international.
Okay. All right. So I think that's a question from Steve, right?
Yes, from Steve.
Yeah. So I can, yeah, I'm seeing it here. So hi, Steve. Basically, first of all, before you come up with any strategy, you need to know, like what you just touched upon, your target market, you know, so that is really, really important. I think it will have been more clearer, you know, if you actually stated exactly what you're doing here, but just off, you know, just to something really broad is going to be the key thing is, again, as Uche talked about during the presentation, you know, which is consistency, you know, so if you're consistent, you know, people are going to notice you. People are going to see that, oh, okay, you know what? Victor's platform has been producing this same kind of content since 2019, and they've actually gotten better. For example, say it's a video content. Okay, Victor has been producing, you know, video content talking about specific kind of, you know, topics. However, you know, he's gotten better over time. They see the consistency, they see that you have the, you know, and people that you have, you know, like say, you know, your community, like Ike talked about, you know, are able to say, okay, wow, I've been following this guy since 19. I know he's uber great or whatever it is that he's doing. You know, there is no way when that excellence is there, the consistency is there. There's no way that you wouldn't be noticed. First of all, by the local people, by your community, by your tribe, you know, and most especially the international audience. So again, everything is a process. You can't, for some people, it may seem like, you know what, we're moving at a snail pace, but at the end of the day, remember that people are watching, people are noticing every single thing you do. So just keep at it. And I think that's one of the best strategies that you can, you know, you can definitely employ in your business.
Okay, thank you so much, Julian.
I want to add something.
Okay.
I want to add something. Julian answered it excellently. And I know that what he's going through, a lot of other people could be going through it. Meaning, because he mentioned the year, he has been working since 2019 and he feels like he's not getting the result. So I'm guessing, Steve, you feel like you've put in the work. So I'll just add one or two things. One is that you can go back to my slide where I talked about introspection and brand refresh. You can actually go and analyze and just say, hey, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? One of the things we did on this session was that we had a poll. So why don't you dive into your community, do a survey with your community and find out, what do they like? What do they not like? What are the things that they appreciate? What do they want you to do more of? What they want you to do less on? That's one. Then going to your analytics, data is powerful. And that's one of the reasons I love Africa No Filters work, because we analyze a lot of data. So go into your analytics. What is popular? What is not popping? Go into your client base. What are some of the things that your clients are constantly attracted to, and what are some of the things that they are constantly rejecting? At BellaNaija, one of the things that we do all the time is that even on the content side, we drop some features, we pick up some new features. Even sometimes we go back to some old features and refresh it. So there's that constant refreshment of the content. And then if you go over to the business side, over the years, we've had some products that we've started and we've stopped as well. So for Steve and other people who feel like, look, they've been consistent, they've tried, one is dive into your data. What is your data telling you? Two is dive into your community with surveys. What's your community telling you? Three is going to your customer base. What's the money telling you? What is getting a lot of money and what is not getting money? And then you can now build the next era of your media company. I love to give examples. So I know that Big Cabal Media, for example, has been a recipient of some fund from Africa No Filter, and I know that they've evolved quite a bit over the years. So they started as a tech blog, they have Zikoko, they have other brands. So that just shows that it is an evolution as well. Finally, what I would say is that, look, we are not in a bubble. We are in a global field. Why don't you look globally at what some other similar companies are doing? Not saying that you should copy and paste them, but you could find some inspiration and you could learn from even some of their mistakes and their successes.
Thank you so much, Uche. I mean, it just speaks to the fact that the space that we operate in is in a constant state of flux. And so one has to be extremely flexible and nimble and be able to apply yourself to all the changes that happen within the space. Do constant inflection, reflection, critiquing, analysis, and all the things you said. So thank you so much, Uche. We've still got questions streaming in. I'll take them as fast as I can, and I'll see how I can strike off the similar ones. And someone is asking how they can contribute to BellaNaija as a writer. And so just keep that in mind. I will take one or two others. And someone's also asking, how do you scale in the beginning stages to know the progress of your work? Another is also asking, how to monetize an Instagram radio program on Niger Health Radio titled Let's Talk SGBV. I guess that's the sexual and gender-based violence, the full meaning of that acronym. So that's more like a social, how do you monetize those kind of social programs, speaking broadly about it. So maybe if you could just take those three questions, then we'll see how much time we have to take the next batch.
Okay, so since there are three questions, three members of the team, so IK, on Martin, second one, and Julian, the third one. So go ahead. So IK, you can go ahead.
Yeah, all right. So I think the first question is about somebody who wants to contribute, yeah?
Yeah, that's it.
I was trying to type it in just so that we can move up from that.
Okay.
Yeah, so just send us an email at features. I'll eventually type it in, features@bellanaija.com. We have a very robust community of contributors, and you can be a part of it. So just send us that email, and then our team will get back to you. So that's simply, I'll type the email address in the chat box now.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And if there are questions that you can just provide answers to by typing them in, please feel free to do so that we can cover as many people as we can, because we've got a few more questions to go. So the next one was about how do you scale in the beginning stages to know the progress of your work?
Okay. I think that's me. Okay, thanks, Victor, for this. Okay, so the beginning stage of growth as an entrepreneur, as a content creator, as an influencer can be very discouraging, just like we have said, because it's like the startup. And one thing I've noticed that people want to see, they want to be convinced to be able to partner with you, to be able to collaborate with you. Just like I said earlier, first of all, be true to yourself. At the same time, data, like what Uche has said, your data counts. Your data counts. Do the work and assemble what you have done. At the end of the day, brands want to see something. So even when it's starting, like feeling like, oh, I don't think I'm doing a lot, you might think you're not doing a lot because you're just saying, but your data will speak otherwise. So put together a proposal. If you're a startup person, have a proposal, have a portfolio that has the things that you have done. Don't just put the work, put the statistics, let the matrix show. If you send this to a brand and they see that, oh, this is good, this has potential, I don't think there's any brand, no matter how big, that would see a brand, no matter how small, with very valid details, valid statistics, message-driven work, that would not want to partner. So I think start from the proposal angle, let your data show the facts, let your data show how authentic your brand is, and don't hold yourself back. Send to as many people as you think you want to send to, and just wait back on results. If your details show amazing, excellent results, I think brands will want to work with you. And also to add up to that, collaboration is key. As a startup person, no man is an island. Don't think I can do it alone. Try to collaborate with people in your field that do similar things. Ask for advice, ask for guide, because you can never start up alone. You need people to guide you. So yeah, that's what I would say. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And the last question was about monetizing social programs like sexual and gender-based violence. Who's taking that?
I am.
All right, cool.
Oh, hi. So basically, the best way I feel like most of the conversations that we've had here, or most of the answers to all the questions, has to do with consistency, you know. So you are consistent with all that you're doing, and people see that as well. So at some point, yes, you know, collaboration is very much needed in these kind of situations, because at the end of the day, you can't do it all alone, you know, because it's how will I put it? It's a social impact, you know, area where the funding doesn't come uber easily, you know, so you have to do a lot of partnership, you have to do a lot of reaching out, networking to people, and of course the platforms. So it depends on the model of the business. So some people would prefer to use, you know, what's it called? Funding, you know, to kind of like get, you know, funding and partnership, looking at networking. Can you hear me?
Yes, you cut out a little bit, but we can now.
Okay, all right, great. So sorry about that, guys. Network. Okay, so basically, you know, it could be you know, crowdfunding. That's a way to get funds for that. It could be partnership, you know, so basically reaching out to like bigger brands. And bear in mind that out of 10 brands or 10 potential partnerships that you may reach out to, only 2 may get back to you, you know, so that is all part of the process, is all part of growth. But those are just the major things that I'm going to highlight. And of course, the platform that you use, you know, to push out your content as well. And again, guys, when you want to push out, you know, anything to anybody, when you're approaching a third party, let's be mindful of how we communicate, you know, whatever it is we need to communicate to the third party, because that also has a lot to say about, you know, what your brand, your person, and also your business. So reaching out to the third party and saying, oh, hey, hey, I'd like to talk to you about, you know, XYZ. It's not the best approach. You know, you go in, oh, good afternoon, introduce yourself, then of course, tender your reason for the communication. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And the next, I'm keeping an eye on the time. We're almost at the dot of the hour, but let's see how quickly we can move. There's a question, Uche, which is really interesting here. I think it's talking about, next couple of questions talk about audiences, you know, and somebody's talking about the timing, the right time to introduce, you know, monetization, you know, to monetize your platform. And still at the stage of building audiences and trying to get the trust and, familiarity with your audience. And then boom, you're asking them to pay money for subscription. So when is the right time? I don't want to read through the entire length, but that's my understanding of the question. It's important to monetize, but timing.
Is that Modupe's question? Or
yes, Modupe. Yes,
I can see. I read it because, fashion is covered. The truth is there is no perfect time for anything. And that's where you go into the experimentation part. So it's one of those things that if you can offer deep fashion insights, as you've mentioned, there is a gap in the market in terms of analysis. So yes, we have a lot of media in terms of creation, but there is a gap in terms of analysis. The thing about analysis, if you look at Bloomberg, which is one of the biggest media companies in the world, one of their most profitable divisions is the division that provides insights as well. So if you're going to be providing insights, providing analysis that can help with decision making, that can help with, money generation from fashion brands, both globally and locally, this is definitely knowledge that is monetizable. So with this, I would say that why not? You can start now. It's an experiment. Guess what? If it doesn't work the way you feel it should work, you can always try another system later. You're not stuck on one. So don't feel guilty about experimenting. Quality is something that we've mentioned. If you want people to pay for something, you have to deliver. So if I'm paying a subscription and I'm expecting to see 4 reports a month, I need to see those 4 reports a month. If I'm expecting to see 4 reports a month and I'm expecting A-star quality of content, it cannot be A-star today, A tomorrow, B next week, and C the next. It has to be A-star, 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 to the point where they're like, wow, we need more of this.
Thank you so much, Uche. And a couple of people have asked for the slides. Will the slides be available to circulate to the audience? Your presentation slides. Okay, thank you so much. So there you go, guys. You'll get the slides after the presentation. And we've got a few more questions, Uche. I know that we are almost running out of time. Maybe we can just take one more question or 1 or 2 questions, and perhaps we'll find a way to give responses to the others. And someone's asking about organic growth. How do you achieve organic growth in building audiences? Another person is also asking about the challenges that comes with building your brand and how you can overcome them. Quite similar. Somebody else is asking, what's the best platform to create a portfolio for bloggers? And if you've got any recommendations. So maybe we can knock off those 3 and we'll call it a day.
All right, so organic growth. The truth is, the platforms that we use, they have now built their systems in a way where they don't want you to grow organically. They want you to grow via paying. So of course, organic growth is an uphill challenge, and that's the truth. And I'm saying this not to discourage you. I'm saying this because when you enter into any space, you need to know the realities of the space, because those realities will help you create a better strategy. So one thing to note is most platforms are optimized for paid growth right now because these companies need to make money. However, it does not mean that there is no hope for organic growth. We've mentioned it all here. I know that some of these things you may want to hear a sexier answer, but the truth is quality, consistency, community building, experimentation, those are the things that are going to help you grow. Watch that data. Thankfully, these platforms really provide us with good analytics to show you this is what people are clicking on, this is what they like, this is what they're following. That should help inform some of your decisions. However, remember authenticity. You just don't want to morph into just something you don't recognize at the end of the day. I'm sure when you started your company or your venture, you had a mission in mind. Bear in mind that mission as you grow. So that's how I'll answer that question. In terms of, what was the next question, Victor?
The next one was around the challenges that comes with building your brand. I think you touched on that on your presentation.
There are going to be challenges. It is what it is. There's nothing that is just a smooth road ahead, but you can anticipate.
It seems we
some of the
Hi,
students of that space. Oh, can
yes,
you
we
hear
can
me?
now. We lost you for a few seconds.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think
Okay.
we got that.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so whatever space you are in, you have to be a student of the space. So that means you need to be reading reports. African No Filter has a lot of great reports. How many of them have you read?
A lot.
A lot. A lot. How many have you read? Subscribe to their newsletter, sit down, have your cup of coffee or your tea or your ice water and read those reports. You have to be a student of the field that you're in. That is going to take you to the next level. Before I go to the next question, there was one I saw around, what are some grounding practices for creatives? I started with a wellness point, and I also ended with a wellness point. With everything going on around the world, everything going around around our communities, and also, creatives, oftentimes that creativity also comes with some level of internal conflict. It's important for you to just prioritize yourself. Social media is a powerful tool. However, social media breaks also count. So thankfully, a lot of these social media platforms have scheduling tools. So you don't have to be there posting 24/7. You can schedule, and then you can have your quiet time off social media where you can remain grounded and you can be able to clear your mind so you are ready to dive in the next time. And also, platform choice matters. Some people feel like certain platforms are not the best compatibility for their own personal taste and their own mental health. So that should be also a consideration when you're selecting platform choice that you want to build on.
Thank you so much, Uche. You've actually touched on most of the questions. And I've just got this final question, Uche, if you could spare us another 1 minute. And the person is asking, when starting a publication, how do you deal with paying contributors when you are at the early stages and you're funding by yourself? It can be quite challenging.
Well, it depends on the model that you're trying to build. So if you're trying to build a model with paying contributors, and of course, every creative deserves some level of compensation for their work, especially like on a new platform, you may just have to build that into your business model. So for some people, a big part of their cost on their media business model could be their server costs. Some people, electricity in their office. For someone like you, your big cost could be those contributor payments, especially if you're hoping to build your company on the back of the content that these contributors are creating. So really, it depends on your business model. It depends on where you're planning on growing. But if it's a big part of your growth profile, by all means, you just have to build for it and anticipate it and work on a model that works well for you. There are so many different types of media models out there. And if this is the one you want to pursue, then you have to factor it into your business plan.
Thank you so much. And guys, that will be it for today. We'll be drawing the curtain, right now. Thank you so much, Uche. We cannot appreciate you enough. Thank you so much to every one of you who made out time. Thanks to your team as well. Very brilliant team and highly engaged. Very knowledgeable about the sector as well. Thank you so much. We're extremely grateful. Thanks to every one of you. And please do yourself the favor of joining the ANF community. You can sign up to receive our newsletter. It contains loads and loads of information, like Uche mentioned. And there's a whole lot you need to catch up on when you join that community. There's a whole lot of opportunities and information that comes your way. So please do yourself good by joining that community and keep an eye on this space. We come to you with presentations from the ANF Academy every quarter. And so the next one comes up shortly, but we'll announce and put out all the information about it in the newsletter. So please join our community, receive our newsletters, and watch this space. So it's been nice speaking with all of you, and it's been nice engaging with you. Once again, thank you so much to Uche. And follow us on social media. Our socials are at Africa No Filter across our platforms. Thank you so much and have a splendid week ahead. Thank you.